run hot. This is nothing to do.
You're fine. You're feeling
nothing
fine right now.
do.
You feel fine.
I feel fine. I trust my team.
Okay.
You know, it's taken a long time.
Well, T1 don't trust that Zach anymore.
Well, they shouldn't, because Broken Blade really did a number on them. We were actually talking about a VOD during the downtime as well. Like, to what extent, once you get fed, particularly on champions like Zach and Rek'Sai...
Oh my god, they banned the Rek'Sai as well.
Yeah, because there was
maximum respect from T1.
Absolutely not.
So Ashe going to be taken away from G2. This leaves the Varus and the Kalista up. T1, of course they're going to go for the Kalista. We already saw last game how they are fantastic at punishing your mistakes in the early game. Bot lane dives are going to be the play. Now if G2 were to lane swap, this would be the time to do it. Jinx, things like the Scion, these were all answers that you used during the regular season to be able to match some of these strong laners. But they're saying, you know what, we've got Varus Orianna, we're happy to go toe-to-toe in the 2v2.
I love this Orianna pick because specifically the Orianna is the champion that Faker has always looked so insanely consistent on. And the Azir really has dropped in priority compared to where it was during the LCK, both regular split and in the playoffs due to some of the nerfs that came through. So starting off really strong here for G2. Imagine Faker is still going to go towards it for the team fighting power.
Well, we'll see. The Aurelion
That'd
Soul
be a
is
first.
Not something. Here we go. Aurelion Soul for Faker. Exciting stuff for sure. The scaling powerhouse. We've seen how commanding Chovy was on the champion. But I wonder if Nautilus is going to be paired up alongside this Kalista.
Wait a second, buddy. First in his career, not just the first this year. The first time we have ever seen Faker competitively play Aurelion.
They're going for the Jarvan to boot. Wombo combos galore, looking to lock down the Poppy lock in for Yike. You have to imagine this is going in the jungle. Nice response here from G2. Counter picks are plenty so far in this series.
Always the possibility of Poppy support as well. Into a Kalista, into a Jarvan trying to gank bot. It's possible that we see that move to support Betty.
My expectation is the jungle, but you're definitely right that the flexibility is an option.
Agreed.
One of the big things as well about Poppy is that if you do end up going for a lane swap, she's one of the best level 3 divers in the game, so being able to have extra threat coming from the jungle is quite huge. The big thing for me with Faker in the last game is that Faker has had a lot of periods where he wasn't the best mid laner when it comes to playing out the lane, playing mechanically, but it has been a really long time since I saw him have a game where he just really looked out of sorts of where to be on the map. So that is the big thing I'm going to look towards. ASO, although we have seen some players look completely different on it, Chovy being, I think, the main example, when it comes to executing it in the early game, does have a lot of teamfight inevitability. I'm completely blank on the word. You know what I mean. Eventually he becomes a big dragon.
Inevitability.
Thank you very much. He breathes on everyone, and it is something that, given his somewhat shaky form in this series, I think is a good call.
Sure, we'll see if Faker can bounce back. Belveth, the respect continuing to be shown towards Yike. Again, I still think this Poppy is jungle, but the Nautilus, I was about to say, Nautilus has to be banned here, with the Renata ban heavily indicating from G2 that they want to grab that pick. Will they go for the Nautilus once more, sorry, the Leona once more, or are they thinking something else? Mickey, what have you got prepared for us? Obviously didn't have the best showing in the early game. That's a bait, ignore the hover, don't worry about that.
There's no way he picks Darius in the top lane. Vi could work really well.
You called the Poppy support. It could still be top, of course.
I was about to say.
But the Vi lockdown paired up alongside
Orianna, Chain of
the Orianna Chain of Corruption. Kalista's going to have a rough time. If they really wanted to shout out BDS, a Garen lock-in would be super cool.
So what's big here is the fact that the Poppy also has a good matchup into Cassandra, which naturally would be one of the champions that you would go towards when it comes to blind pick in top, right? There's still the opportunity here for G2. It is Zeus though, so he's just gonna blind the TF here. We'll see what Keria's pick is going to end up being, barring some Jarvan support shenanigans, which, of course,
it limits his options a lot, right? Like, he's thinking, maybe I need a range support, but Renata's taken away. Like, you don't want to play, maybe Braun?
Camille is
Camille into Poppy!
Okay. Now, I remember Keria playing the Camille once, and he didn't win the game, but I don't think it was on his back.
Interestingly enough, he also played it like, I don't know if it was a year or a year and a ago ago. Didn't go great. In that game, you are very correct. Also, not necessarily the guy, and as you're playing Camille into Poppy support.
I know that. Yes.
I mean, it gives you lockdown. If you can jump in, you put down your Hexagon Ultimatum, you have the follow-up with the Falling Sky, you have a gold card, you have Cataclysm, you have a lot of circles, okay?
I do love me a circle call.
If T1 circles manage to kill G2 before G2 can chase out of them, it's good for T1, but I'm not sold on the Camille.
Here's what I'll say. T1 have a lot of threats onto low mobility carries. You've got a Varus and an Orianna who hate playing into Jarvan traditionally, and I think Poppy as an idea is good. My question is, have they cooked too hard? By putting the Poppy into the support role, is that losing too much strength in the bot lane 2 versus 2? Perhaps into the Camille, this is a matchup I'm not super familiar with, so I might be completely wrong. But the Vi diving in, I feel like that Yasuo and Orianna has the potential to follow up, but with the amount of damage threats from T1, I'm not convinced. Like, there's a lot of volatility in these drafts. It could go either way. I'm honestly just excited because with how these teams are playing, fights are going to be super important.
The one big thing, though, is range. I do think that with this comp, G2 has put themselves in a position where they need to take full control by mid-game, because eventually Acel's range and the amount of zone control that he has, and the outside of Vi, the level of engage is relatively lackluster here from G2. So lackluster engage combined with the fact that you are going to have to be the one generally that wants to go in with the Vi, with the Orianna Ball, with the Yasuo. Because I like Lethality Varus a lot, but I don't think it stands up to Acel when we get to the later stages of the game.
Oh, it definitely doesn't. And with Acel just being able to stand back behind the Twisted Fate gold cards, behind the Cataclysm going in, behind the Hexagon Ultimatum, we'll have to see if the game goes long, whether G2 are able to extricate themselves from what will be a tricky teamfight situation. I wonder if we'll see Yike around mid quite a lot. If you can put Acel behind and get Orianna in a position where she can just bully him out of the lane, it becomes a lot easier for Caps to make sure that Faker doesn't outscale.
If we were to summarize this series, I feel like that the top side has been G2 favored. In particular, like, I think that their solo laners have been outperforming T1's laners in the laning phase. But the bot side of the map, it's all Keria. Like, they have just been dominating their 2 versus 2. Throughout this series, they have been able to find these advantages. And for T1, I think this game will be one of the biggest examples of them being able to snowball through their bot lane. This is a hyper-aggressive 2 versus 2, and you have the ability to attack this bot lane early. So I'm excited to see what T1's plan is. Can they get this bot lane off the ground, and can they leverage Gumayusi more, especially if Faker is not having the best series?
Well, I think Mickey has been one of the more inconsistent parts of G2. His game 2 in particular 100%. Wasn't really able, and I think his Leona was fine, but it felt like it was more
an accessory.
Accessory due to the space created by Yike and Broken Blade. We'll see. If you've seen the Camille support maybe a couple of months ago, so they nerfed the Doran's Blade start, which was insane on it. Can't do that anymore. They also nerfed Bloodsong. So there are a lot of parts of this that are not nearly as strong as it was. It is still double Halo Blades. So level 1 is going to be quite pivotal. We'll see to what extent T1 is able, because you need to start winning this lane early and never stop.
Double Halo Blades gives you a lot of pressure in that lane. Cool to see Keria path up towards the top and actually get a ward in the middle bush for Zeus. It makes it a lot easier for Zeus to trade in this lane into ranged into melee matchup. Means that Broken Blade can't just dash away.
Look at bot lane already. We talked about the volatility. Guma couldn't use the Marshall Poise, already interrupted by Mickey. But Keria was able to get on top of Hans and trade back, utilizing the W. We've been seeing this more from Camille's in early levels. Obviously, you're not going to get a huge amount of value out of the hook shot, given that you do have the Poppy Steadfast Presence.
Guma and
level
Keria,
2, though, here it
they're
comes.
1 minion away. They get the level 2. They don't go any further forward immediately. Guma steps in, chunks out a little bit. Adaptive defenses for Keria, possibility. Hookshot wall dive, get the Steadfast Presence out.
They're feeling it. I love watching these bot lanes fight because they're super aggressive in the early levels. We see Oner doing a full clip. Bot side actually pathing towards top. As a Yike trying to navigate his way around that ward, but will be spotted out.
One thing that is big to mention, though, is that last game that we saw this matchup in top, Zeus was playing into a Yasuo that got first blood. Right now, we're looking at level 3 to level 1. Zeus is generally, outside of being very susceptible to ganks, really good at these early spacing champions. And this is, I think it's really important for T1 they actually get the crash here, because their jungler is pathing towards top, whereas Yike is on the bottom half of the map, and they don't have a whole lot of coverage as Broken Blade. Jarvan's early dives are quite strong. He does have a shield, though, but he's level 1.
Gonna get level 2 off one more minion. There we are. Zeus locks in the gold card. Wind Wall comes out. Oner will wait. Mickey engaging in the bottom lane as Guma almost stunned against the wall, but not quite. Guma gets first blood, and Hansama stunned. What a 2-for-1 in favor of T1.
Meanwhile, on top side, Broken Blade is able to survive the gank. Zeus was forced to flash. We'll see if Oner continues. This is such a big wave.
Broken Blade survives. Gets the wave under the tower. No TP for Zeus as well, means he can't quickly pressure Broken Blade again in the lane.
But on the bot side of the map, it is really favorable there. Hansama ends up going down. The trade for T1, they're not going to feel too bad about, as we see here. Oner, my man, you gotta, if you don't hit it, you gotta flash.
Ooh, wow, Broken Blade even almost able to get a kill back. Summoner spells spent aplenty, gentlemen. We're looking again at the junglers. Oner still has the flash. Yike level 4.
Broken Blade still has his flash as well.
Yeah.
That's
Which
actually
level
absurd
6 is
considering
big.
how that worked.
Keeping my eyes on Keria. Thought he went for a roam in mid, but it looks like those mages are going to continue to farm. Mickey looking for a play, wave stacking. Could this be a dive in bot? Nope, I stand corrected. I thought Yike was still hovering around. He's chosen to commit the reset, likely going to path back towards top. But these lack of summoner spells, I need to see these junglers do something. We look back at this play.
If Mickey gets just a centimeter further forward before charging, Guma's stunned. G2 get at least one, and
They
definitely
did that
don't
level
lose both.
2 versus level 3, by the way.
Yeah.
But Keria wasn't there. That's your window. You just go. And that's what you have to do sometimes to Poppy.
Instead, though, they do take a big gamble, and these type of lanes, double Halo Blades, do thrive on finding early leads. Now, when we look at the farm, it wasn't that bad of a trade.
Astral flight forward by Faker.
Faker!
Caps just needs the autos. Faker! Just taken out by Caps in the 1v1.
Caps finds the second solo kill of this series against Faker. We talked about how he is playing out of his mind this year, and he finds another one.
Step up presence in by Mickey. Keria flashes! But the precision protocol, Guma needs an order, but he just can't get in range on Summer. Blocking for Mickey, but the wave pushing in gonna be so difficult for Hans to survive under this tower.
Yike has to make a beeline towards bot lane. Oner has his eyes as well on it. This bot lane is going to be so volatile, but it's Yike that's going to get there first.
No vision for T1, Guma no flash, Keria neither. Is it just cover?
Yike needs his Q. 1 second, here we go.
Oner's on his way, Keria stepping forward. Will the dive materialize? Ward across the wall, Yike dashes. Faker coming across from the side as well, has the skies descend.
As his ult.
Mickey's on his way. This could be the ball game right here. Faker goes in. Who tanks first? Already we see Hansama falling. Yike with a flash. Faker tanks the tower shot, but T1 able to get out. Caps looking for the flank. Has the shockwave, but no flash. Oner tanking on the front line as Mickey and Yike continue to collapse. Can Caps find Faker? Not today! Faker escapes. Guma falling low. The ignite not enough to take him, but the command attack will send him to an early grave.
Oh my goodness, it's only 3-3 in kills, but the action is relentless. They're looking for... Oh, Yike won't actually commit to the play. Chooses not to overextend. Wow, I can't believe Caps didn't connect onto anyone with the shockwave, but we look back at the 1v1 in mids.
It's Faker that decides that this all-in is happening.
Look at this flash from Caps. He actually gets behind him. So look at this awkward loop-de-loop that he's trying to do with the Q. Caps
back through him as well.
Caps knows this matchup well. He is the ASOL guy in Europe, and he punishes Faker for it. We don't get a replay of the bot action. Nice initial dive from T1. Good overlap of the ultimate from Faker to make it impossible for Hansama to do anything. Caps' arrival means that G2 can get the chase down. But ultimately, I still feel like this bot lane heavily going in the favor of T1. And we look at top 2, a very different story compared to game 1.
And he goes.
Breath in. Zeus locks the gold card. Broken Blade just trading there. Not too much more going to happen.
And this time around, we do actually see Zeus able to utilize that passive, right? Is able to build a sizable gold lead just in the isolate 1v1, because naturally, with all the attention being drawn towards the bot side of the map and the dives, the early aggression, both junglers looking to make an impact as the ult is used, but only for vision. Zeus just using it to get back to lane and catch his wave. We are seeing, as you point out, that first kill from Caps already sets him up great. The fact that he's able to pick up another in the bottom half of the map, particularly given how consistent his Orianna performance was in the last game, is good for G2. Outside of that, though, this bot lane is going the way that T1 wants it to go.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about it coming into this draft, right? Expectations of the T1 wanted to try and make things happen in the bot lane, and they're doing a good job of it so far. 800 is the collective gold lead. But ultimately, when we kind of think about the comps, this Poppy is going to offer so much value later into the game. Caps is in such a commanding position. And while this Yasuo is struggling for now, admittedly, we know that this matchup is only going to get better for Broken Blade. Ghost is used.
Decent assist in the mid lane. Good skies descend though. The shockwave. Faker dodges it, but Mickey's here. Faker no flash, and Mickey slams him into the wall. G2 collapse in mid to find another kill.
All right, Caps. His accuracy on the shockwaves not the highest this game, but it doesn't matter because G2 still converted into a kill. Keria on a ward.
Rank's coming across. Keria on a ward. Flash forward. Chain of corruption. The lockup on Guma. And there's nothing he can do to escape. The chase continues. Keria doesn't have a flash. Can he hookshot? Can he wall dive? Or will he just die?
And one of the things that was going well for T1, the bot lane, gets punished so insanely hard. Don't sweep the brush that they're in, which means that Mickey can go for the immediate stun. Take out the big damage deal right from the get-go. And you gotta put some question marks on T1's decision to say, hey, you know, the Poppy's coming out, we're still gonna pick the Camille's. Look here again, the fact that they're in vision means that Guma doesn't get to do anything. He's the one that has a decent amount of gold. Not gonna be the case. The chain actually connecting onto Keria as well. Roots in their last second, but honestly, I don't know if it would have made it out anyway. Without the flash available, no ultimate available either to try and dodge something.
And look at how things are swinging now. Gold bounty on Hans and Caps. Yike. Finding impact where he can. And this isn't going to get any easier for Kalista the later we go into the game. No. Faker, is he in danger? No, he's perfectly fine. Has the ability to get away to safety. But I did not think coming into today that I would be skeptical of Faker's individual performance. You were telling me coming into this series that Faker has had a great year individually. Yeah. He's been one of the best performing laners in the league outside of Chovy. But overall, he's been an outstanding player. And to see him play the way that he has been a surprise. The good news for him is that Gumayusi and Keria still definitely on form and poised to still have an impact, even if there was a small blunder there in the bot lane.
Another thing, this is a position that T1 wasn't, I think, mostly towards the early end of Spring Split, when they were still dealing with, obviously, the, you know, the Worlds finals taking a really, or rather Worlds as a whole taking a really long time, them making their way towards some fun tournaments as well. It was Zeus, but then he was often on Aatrox, and I think that Zeus is, especially when he's able to generate a lead, like he's been able to here, thanks to the TF, is very dependable when he is on point, which I think today it's been, I don't think he's been really one of the big problems. I think BB just had a really good sack game, but most of those carry performances were on Aatrox. Compare that to the TF, where your impact is just naturally in team fights, not going to be even remotely close.
Credit to Zeus though, game one on the Twisted Fate, even though he was behind, he was throwing out more gold cards than a football referee, right? It was gold, 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 gold. It was impossible for G2 to actually get forward in fights, so I'll give him his fair share of due diligence here, as we expect to see him still having a great performance on the TF this game.
And what I'll say is that T1 have proven that their team fighting is still world class. They are a tenacious team, and even if they find themselves at early game deficits, they find incredible ways to come back into games. Their Baron plays in particular are what made the finals so difficult for Gen G, and why it was such a chaotic, crazy 5-game series. So definitely not going to count them out. G2 find themselves with about a 1k gold lead for now. Oner sets his sights on the bot lane. Hans Sama forced to respect it, knowing that he is on the weak side of the map, as more gold gets funneled into the pockets of Guma and Keria.
Yeah, the one problem I have is that T1 doesn't actually have that good of a team fight comp until he gets a late game, because Ace by himself. Yeah, when Aurelion Sol basically single-handedly makes your composition a team fight comp. Outside of that, though, particularly in the mid-game, I think you're going to be super reliant on getting Zeus out of that lane, get him out on the map. It was one of the big ways that T1 was able to turn game number 1, was G2 going in aggressively and then getting punished on the collapse afterwards. That's something that T1 is going to have to find this time around as well. Because when you look at, again, just the power and the gold buttons on G2, Yike presses are, there's follow-up from Caps, there's follow-up from Hans, there is follow-up from Broken Blade. It makes it really hard to play out these early skirmishes.
Also have Mickey's ultimate if they want to try and split a fight up, right? You knock the Aurelion Sol away,
then same thing. when we saw
back in, right?
Oscar playing against Gen G, his ultis onto Keen were massive to allow Fnatic to win out on some of those team fights. Broken Blade now in some danger.
Broken Blade just going to get Star Surged a little bit. Singularity goes down. Faker at 111 stacks now. Usually around 200 is the mark you look at for the 20-minute mark. So well on his way towards that. You only keep scaling up quicker.
Keria.
And goes on. Keria locked against the wall. Yike. Here for the chase. Will they use the cease and desist? Oner goes back in. TP flash away with the Cataclysm. Keeper's birdied out by Mickey. Hansama now collapsing. Base call. Guma locked up. The shockwave. Yike going back in onto Gumayusi. Hansama has Keria on his face and he might get taken out by the falling star. Keria trying to put the damage down, but it's too shows. Hansama. Oh, he thought he was gorgeous and he was! He flashes into a bush where there's a sentinel, so Keria sees him, but Hansama doesn't give a damn and puts him in his place.
G2 found a 3-for-1 fight. I was expecting them to get wiped there. The TP was so fast from T1, but they actually convert it into a G2 victory. Hansama does lose his life. He hands over a shutdown, but look at Caps. He's working towards a death cap second, almost level 12. Let's look back at this fight.
Big thing here is I think Faker not able to find the impact with this ASOL as the W from Poppy is down. A lot of damage goes into Yike, but because he flashes, stays alive for so long that Mickey has his W. And look here, this becomes so messy. Guma, which is one of the main sources of damage, gets taken out immediately. This ultimate finds no one, only the splash damage, meaning that Mickey can kill Faker. And Hansama can find the output with the flash on the E.
He's flashing away from the precision protocol, the Q2.
Never mind, yeah.
Flashes away from it because Keria actually flashed on top of him. A little bit of a spectator mishap there where we didn't see Keria being on top of him.
So I think also because he flashed into fog, it also interrupted, or maybe he didn't actually even get the auto attack
get
off.
cancelled if you're in Fog of War. And then the Spectre obviously did see him in the end, but Hansama had bought enough time to pick up the kill. T1 now pushing in the top lane, about 1,000, 2,000 gold behind. Dragon being taken by G2. It will be 2 Drakes to 0 in their favor.
Now, expectations coming into this series were that T1 would be the heavy favorites. We've seen the number of predictions, and of course, this series is not over yet, and by no means is G2 in a convincing position where this game is secured for them. But already, I think G2 are defying expectations in how competitive they are playing against T1. In all 3 games, we've been seeing these incredibly close back and forths. And I'm excited to see where things pan out as Caps finds himself with a 2.4k gold lead over Faker.
The last time they won a best-of-1 against T1 was MSI 2020. That was 4 years ago as the chain of corruption going wide from Hansama. The Destiny's going to come in and there's no way for Hansama to escape this.
So dead.
He's so dead. As Hansama oversteps a little bit. Mickey looking for the Hex Flash across the wall. TP in, Hex Flash cancelled. Mickey trying to get away from the gold card, which is locked in by Zeus. Cataclysm into the Keeper's Verdict. Only hits onto Zeus. Guma still chasing. The collapse coming in, but Yike realizes perhaps discretion is the better part of Valor.
This is what we were talking about. Make sure as
being bot.
Not getting the cancel. They did have the ward, but not going to find that. This is a really big moment, right? This is what we're talking about. Use that TF. Although I do got to say, Hans, you can't. Even if the TF wasn't there, probably would have ended up going down.
You would have, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that was a necessity. There is going to be a gold influx here for T1. My main issue again is going to be how are these team fights going to play out when the Orianna is this fed? Because right now, death cap done at almost 17 minutes, whereas Faker is sitting at less gold than Yike.
Yep. I mean, game 1, Faker bounced back, to his credit. His ended up being godlike and he had a huge impact in the game. But so far in games 2 and 3, it has not been the Faker show.
Oh.
He has flash.
And the thing is, he should never get close enough to this wave for BB to really be able to collapse.
Yeah, he's fine.
The singularity, the range you have on it, obviously you can, breathe a little bit of fire on it as well to help those minions die.
Herald's likely going to be dropped mid now. There's an opportunity here for T1. So they actually have their sights set on the bot lane.
Guma and Zeus going to path down towards the bottom side, then go back to mid. Hansama, Caps, and Mickey answering. It's only Broken Blade in bot lane. Yike coming up, opening through mid right now. Only deeper ward. You'd like to see this in the lane just to spot T1's movements on the map.
What that did show us is how good the single target damage is. That's the one thing you need to be careful of if you are G2. Don't overextend as Guma.
Oh, all the way onto Guma. The flash away. Steadfast presence. Mickey can't find the stun, and Guma will be able to get the blast cone in time. Yike! misses the bolt breaker, and now he's on the wrong side of dodge. Flashes away, Cataclysm, Shockwave dodge with a Hexagon ultimatum, and Yike locked up and shut out by T1.
Overcommitment there from G2. They're getting a little overzealous. They get the summoner spells out from Gumayusi, but it was so difficult for the rest of G2 to follow. No Broken Blade ultimate to connect. Caps' Shockwave doesn't connect. And all of a sudden that goal gap is closing quickly. And this is the thing about T1. They're quick to punish your mistakes. And they are more than willing to fight you if you bring the fight to them.
Yike also investing his flash there, so the range of the Vi going to be a little bit easier to deal with. Big thing there is that there's no objective to be taken. As we take another look here, it just starts up with Guma extending the play with the flash. The double knockup from Oner, absolutely pivotal here.
If Mickey had been able to connect that stun, a really nice sidestep there from Guma to dodge the Q from Yike, that could have been a very different story. They may have been able to follow up, but G2 was just so far behind. Really nice use of the ultimate there from Keria. And T1 is able to find a punish kill onto Yike. That'll be his first of the game. And you can see, you look at the gold at the bottom of your screen, both AD carries sitting at 4 deaths, both supports with an impressive KDA. Jungler's in a pretty good position, but that gold advantage being gained largely from Zeus' passive, some of the plates as well, has put him pretty far ahead of Broken Blade in the isolated 1v1.
As long as, as we do go in Mickey.
Looks for the knockup. Oh, stun onto Keria, Caps. Ooh. That's some damage as well.
That was what I was leading into. As long as Caps doesn't overextend, I feel like G2 can fight their way out of any fight, right? Caps just needs to not be in a side lane where he can get punished by the roams and the global map pressure that ASOL and TF have. As long as G2 makes sure that Caps always has either protection or is playing around the known locations of the T1 members, for T1 it's going to be really hard to ever walk up and contest because there's so much damage as Mickey.
Guma has no flash, Guma has no flash and no Edge of Night. Destiny out, smart play by Zeus to spot. The fact that Mickey was flanking Keria, going in with a Hexagon, making knocked back with a hammer shot, the Cataclysm. Caps still stunned up, and Mickey's already killed off Zeus. Caps down, the shutdown goes to Guma. Mickey trying to put the hammer snap into the last breath, and T1 maybe breathed that last in this game. G2 find 2, and Guma and Keria walk away wounded.
Broken Blade arrives to the fight, and they make the combo happen. Yike and Broken Blade lock down Faker and Guma, and with the Baron alive, G2 are going to secure it.
T1 seem to be on the same page. We got to kill Caps, we got to kill Caps, but you can't dive that deep. They are going to give up the Baron, might get at least a mid lane turret for it, but not the trade that you're looking for. G2 take a commanding lead.
The confidence that we're seeing from G2, I would have expected them to not be ready for this collapse. Broken Blade is making his way down from top lane, but this is the dive threat from T1. The lockdown onto Caps, good ultimate comes out from Mickey. The follow-up CC onto Zeus means that they're able to one-shot him, but look at this combo here from Yike. Broken Blade is in range, the comms come through, Faker gets knocked up, Oner gets knocked up, and they convert it into 2 kills and a Baron. Impressive fight from G2 as T1 find themselves faltering once more.
Drake available for G2 as well will be Soul Point Ocean Drake for them if they can find it. A 2,500 gold lead now for G2, and they are close to taking this series 2-2-1, going to match point against the current world champions. And at a time when I think a lot of people looked at EU coming into this MSI as weaker than, not than it's ever been, but definitely in a weaker state than we expected them to be.
Do gotta say though, the Rebel Baron power play does for not getting too much. If you only end up getting a mid lane turret out of it, it is nice, but by itself, not enough. And I think this is where the threat of the TF, again, ideally you want to set up for at least a 1-4, maybe a 1-3-1, but don't really get to do that. So the Baron itself is going to give a decent amount of gold, but outside of the Soul Point, which is valuable, Ocean Soul obviously not going to be your preferred Drake of choice.
Importantly for G2, Camps didn't burn his flash in that last fight. Was CC'd for a long time. I think there was a small opportunity in there, but held on to it. Keria has no flash, Faker has no flash. Oner has his though, so the ability to lock down the G2 mid laner is still a possibility.
I will also say that Mickey's had an incredible game.
Yeah. Like,
his Poppy in every single play has been outstanding. And considering his game 1 and 2 that were not the best, he has definitely turned things around. He's been involved in 11 of G2's 12 kills. And I think that this Poppy pick was so valuable and continues to be so. We'll see if T1...
He's poppying off, eh, buddy?
He is he's poppying off, Medic. Yes, he is. I'll give you that one.
I'm looking left to right, audience. I don't get this. I don't get this reference.
Atlas, mate. It's popping off, but poppying off. popping off.
Yeah, okay, costume of Atlas should prep me for that one. That one's on me. Thank you for the explanation.
That's all right.
G2 now setting up a siege. This tower's going to be difficult to knock down, though. The wind wall should prove helpful.
Keria, no hookshot wall dive. Stun card locked onto Yike. Singularity going down. Broken Blade dashing forward. The threat of the Steel Tempest lands that Q3. No last breath to follow up. Another tower goes down. Keria dashing in, dashing out. Dancing all about. The chase continues as T1 is trying to be a nuisance to G2. They should all be able to back away together with this Baron empowered recall. Never mind. T1 continues to step forward.
They're cautious, though. Yeah, Oner doing the correct thing. Mickey, the last man standing. But the rest of the team will go back to base. The Baron wearing off soon, if it hasn't already. And the Dragon will be the next point of contention. So now both teams will likely enter a neutral state, looking to get what farm they can. Secure as many items as possible ahead of the upcoming fight. You can see the components of the Zhonya's Hourglass being finished up for Caps, getting close to level 16. He's likely to get it ahead of the next Dragon fight, meaning he's going to have his level 3 ultimate unlocked. Hansama very close to completing his Muramana as well. And G2 looking poised and strong, ready for the next team fight.
Broken Blade puts the wind wall down. Hexagol made him coming out as well as Keria dives onto the backline. Broken Blade down to half HP. Oner dashing forward and Mickey finds Faker. The chain of corruption follow up. The shockwave. Faker falls. Yike able to survive as well. Locked up underneath the tower. He'll die. 2 for 1 so far in the exchanges. Zeus able to walk down towards the bottom side. Kite away. G2 continue to push in for the tier 2 in the mid lane.
Broken Blade. He's looking for more. They'll just take the tower. Wow. And Broken Blade was just kind of testing the waters, and T1 said, fine, we'll fight you. They try to catch G2 completely unawares once again, but G2 were able to respond effectively, and it's Mickey. I have to see a replay of what happened with the Shockwave, though, because I thought that was going to do massive damage. We'll see back. Maybe it was just the spectator. Broken Blade, he goes in. Obviously, this is a bit of an overstep. He's relying on the wind wall. Keria gets the initiation, but then look at Mickey here. Doesn't connect the ultimate on anyone, locks Faker up, and then the dive comes through.
Big thing here is Faker, outside of his ult, again, doesn't actually find anyone. The re-engage from Yike there does end up getting him taken down, but with the rest of G2, and again, crucially, Caps still being unthreatened because everything was used trying to kill this Yasuo. It's, by the way, didn't flash, didn't die.
Keria into the wall, Hansama there for the follow-up, just looking to chunk Keria out!
Whoa!
Well, that's a hell of a chunk from G2. The chain of corruption landing as well, as Zeus is going to try and lock in the gold card to stop Hansama from the chase, but Yike is here, and Zeus is not long for the rift. G2 find another 2 with Drake up in a minute's time.
26 minutes in, and G2 are slaughtering T1 right now. They're running amok in their jungle, and Mickey just continues to find more picks.
One of the few bright spots that T1 still had left. Zeus tried to save his teammate. Not going to do a whole lot, as the amount of damage that G2 have available, the amount of chase, absolutely impeccable. And one of the big things we talked about, again, it's the fact that Mickey, being Poppy, outside of a gold card, which in of itself isn't going to be enough threat, he legitimately can just face check every single time. And T1 can't. No one on T1 can walk forward, because if they end up meeting this Poppy, they can't escape, and then they just get taken down by the amount of damage that's there for the rest of the team.
I was going to say, if you're playing solo queue, don't look at Mickey's build. The Chaos, Dead Man's Blood Song. Does a lot of damage, but
the McKills, actually, for the gold card,
I love the tag.
I respect it.
I just don't want to see my supports trying to pull it out in the middle of a game as Hansama begins to collapse on T1. TP into the mid lane, Drake up, Soul. The battle lines drawn. T1 would be walking into Fog, the standard, their only bit of vision. 1 ward now in the river. Faker needs to find a Sky's Descent, but he doesn't have the upgraded ultimate as Oner looks for the flank vision on him. Oner just wants to get in here, now out of vision. Last breath going in, it's secured by Yike. No damage between the two teams really as G2 just get the Drake and get out, but Yike is overstepping. Cease and desist on the backline into the last breath, into the shockwave. Faker is yeeted the hell out of the fight, and even the base core might not be enough to save Keria. Oner down, Guma down, T1 down, and G2 on the brink of taking a lead versus T1.
T1 again, they try to force, again, they don't succeed. Trying to take down Yike, he's able to turn it with an immediate ultimate. Faker's going to TP back in a desperate attempt. Yike won't find him, but I don't think it's going to make a difference.
G2 is looking to end the game right here. Sub 30 minutes. G2 have torn T1 apart.
Here's got the wave, though. This is really smart. Keria catches it. The cannon minion dies, and there's only one minion left alive. G2 unable to advance. Intelligent stuff from the T1 support.
It's gone clear, though. This is not your normal Camille. No Revenous Hydra available, so next wave, this is going to delay, but it just means G2 still get a massive gold lead. Going to pick up the Baron and look for the end on the next push.
G2 continue to defy expectations. With the Baron locked in, this looks like G2's game to lose. Underestimated at every turn. They have taken the fight to T1, and this should be the last-ditch effort from T1.
No flash for Oner, but the Cataclysm, Mickey locks him up. Oner shut out! And G2 did everything they needed to make sure there was no steal happening as the flash shockwave on Faker takes him down to half. Mickey with a slam into the wall, and Guma's hopes of winning this game are being slammed in his face. G2 almost clean acing T1. Guma dies. There it is. A clean ace for G2.
5 alive for G2, 5 dead on the side of T1, and with this, G2 will go to match point.
The last Nexus Tower, merely a blip on the radar for G2. It is G2 T1.